Good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Saldana, and I am the Chair of Public Safety and Quality of Life for Bronx Community Board 7. The committee agenda is as follows. We will do a brief introduction, attendance. We'll review the previous minutes from June. We'll follow up from any items that are applicable from the last meeting, and then we'll open it up to our city government agencies that are on the line with NYPD, if available, District Attorney's Office if available, OEMS if they're available, and FDNY if they're available. Then we'll have our next meeting on October 13th at 6:30 p.m. With a tentative location. We're waiting to see if there's an update if meetings continue to be remote or if they are in person. After that, we'll briefly open it up to committee members to see if there's any additional items they would like to add to the agenda. To continue, the committee, I read over the committee agenda, so I'll go over some additional guidelines. On September 2nd, 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, which authorizes the community board to run this meeting remotely, and minutes will be taken for record keeping. The minutes will appear on Bronx Community Board 7's website within days and can be requested from BX Community Board 7 staff at any time. If you're calling into the meeting on the conference, the following are the controls. Controls while joining from a landline or by mobile while dialing the phone number. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone, *6 to mute and unmute yourself, *9 to virtually raise your hand. Can I mute that? 1 second. How we will run this meeting is as follows. Code of conduct for meetings, penalties and actions. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images. Offensive images are language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committee for a ban. The amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participant in the event of a repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities should be summoned. Everyone besides the speaker presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have questions by pressing the raise hand button on your screen or request to speak throughout the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had the opportunity to ask clarifying questions by pressing the raise hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair in new business or addressed at the next meeting, granted there is time and the committee agrees on the topic. Following the questions, discussion, and public comment portion, the committee will begin their discussions after each presentation agenda item and will conclude with a decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there are any questions related to the meeting software or to a process, please use the chat function to raise your hand or contact the district manager. Thank you. So from our last meeting, just want to briefly open up to the committee, see if there's any questions from the minutes that were submitted back in June that the committee would like to discuss. Okay, sign says no. Are there any follow-ups that members from the committee will like to discuss or get an update from our last meeting in June? Nope. Okay, so I think with that being said, there is one follow-up that I want to tie it together with the NYPD. Do we have a representative from the NYPD on the line?
Hey, Victor, how are you?
We do. Hey, Officer Cherry, how are you? Thank you for joining us this evening. So before you give your NYP update, I know from our last meeting, reviewing the minutes, we had a request from the public to see what is NYPD's plan for combating illegal motor vehicles. If you have any update on that, it would be great as well. So perfect. I'll open up the floor to you.
Yeah, so, I don't know if you've been watching the news. We had a press conference actually at the 5-2 precinct about a month ago. Chief of Patrol, Chief Madry, was here, and we were showing the news media all the bikes that we've been confiscating. We actually do a weekly initiative to combat people who have these bikes. Many of the bikes are unregistered, unlicensed, uninsured, and they are parked throughout the neighborhoods. Getting these bikes off the street is like we said earlier, is a very difficult thing because chasing them could cause them to get hurt, could cause us to get hurt, could cause people in the neighborhood to get hurt. So we've been really kind of going around in the areas where the community has given us locations where they have been parking these bikes, and we've been confiscating them. And really, if you come to the 5-2 precinct, you'll see it's almost like a motorcycle junkyard now. Every weekend, we take about 80 off the street. Some of them do get destroyed. Some of them do get returned to the owners as long as they do register them and insure them. But we are actively addressing it. Many of our crimes occur on the motorcycles. Unfortunately, we had a incident where a father was riding his motorcycle on Bailey Avenue with a 4-year-old, and unfortunately for him, they were in a car accident, and the 4-year-old passed away. So it really affects everyone. And when you see a 4-year-old pass away because the bike was actually stolen too. So I mean, he shouldn't have had a 4-year-old on the bike, and he should never been on that bike. So there's a lot of things that are negative that come with these bikes, and we're doing our part. We're trying to educating a lot of the people who don't really know the laws as well. So we were out on Fordham Road, where areas where these bikes are being ridden, we're giving them to the delivery drivers so they can understand what the laws are, what they can ride around with and what they can't. But yeah, we definitely, that's like number one topic for not only for the 5-2 precinct, but the city of New York. So we've been this summer, I don't have the actual numbers of how many bikes we've taken, but I can get that. And it's really something that we've addressed really well.
Great. And I just want to open up to you to see if you want to give us a summary from the NYPD for this past summer, how it's been going, and if you're giving us past 30 days statistics for 52nd precinct.
So, I mean, like all summers, we've been very busy. We've had a few incidents, a few homicides that occurred. Family, we had an accidental shooting with a 14-year-old who was playing with a gun, shot another 14-year-old. Unfortunately, the young kid passed away. So the summer has been is a typical summer where we see a rise in our numbers. The 28 day for this last 28 days actually down 25%. So, I mean, the commander has really been addressing the concerns that are out there. Really, if we go over the 7 majors, we had 2 last year. We have 1 this year. We are up in rapes 4-0. We're down in robberies from 34 to 31. We're down in felony assaults from 48 to 35 this year. We're down in burglaries from 14 to 12. We're down from grand larcenies from 65 to 42. and we're down in GLAs from 25 to 16. So this actual 28-day period, we've done really, really well. Again, a lot of that is part of the commander's plan to address the violence. We've had some outside units supplement our precinct units as far as foot posts in the areas that are having the issues. So we have many more posts out there, many more cops out there to address it. And as you can see that on the 28-day period, we did go down because of it. And we're hoping that we can continue through September with those outside units to keep coming. But again, citywide, it's up all around us. So we're just lucky that we're getting this extra manpower for now. And, you know, right now we're doing well. And I don't want to jinx it, but we're doing well. And, if anybody has any questions for us, I don't know if you guys wanted to meet my partner, Officer Capo. I'll give her a chance.
We haven't had a chance yet, so
I'll give her a chance to say
it. Hi, my name is Officer Capo. I've been in community affairs for about four or 5 months. I've been here for 3 years. Before here, I was in the 3-4 for about 10 years. So I don't know. I guess I'm of service of to you. When we meet in person, I'll give you my email, or maybe I can get your info from Etch. And if you can't reach him, you can reach me.
Sounds good. Welcome aboard, and great to have you here. I'm glad you're not part of the supplemental force. You're here to stay, it seems.
You're here to stay.
So Officer Riyad, this supplemental help that we've been receiving, is this from the state, or is this like, are we getting military or something?
No, it's NYPD officers being shipped in from, other boroughs, other precincts. A lot of that is part of the mayor's plan to keep some of the people that are inside and putting them outside. So I don't saw that on the news where a lot of the desk duty cops are now on the streets. So a lot of these officers are coming from specialized units, very experienced officers, and we're down right now because of it, because they're out there. The presence is out there. It's very important for us to be a presence on the street, especially when the streets are the way they are now. But yeah, we're hoping that we can continue to get them. But obviously, they only come to where the issues are. And like I said, we just had a good month, so I'm hoping they stay a little longer. But there's the possibility that they may move on to different precincts in the Bronx that are not having the success that we're having. So
you're saying we have to create more issues for the precinct so they can stay? Okay.
That just means we can handle it. We're getting it down. So.
Good. So thank you so much. Thank you, NYPD, for everything you do. We're really grateful. We have noticed that the summer has not been, at least the past month, has not been as crazy as previous years. We do have a question from the committee. This is regarding going back to school, especially for elementary and high school kids and middle school kids. What is NYPD's plan around the schools and patrolling them? I know in the past we had kids that were bringing in guns, but also other items as speeding cars that are on the streets. Is the NYPD putting some extra cops there, or what kind of plans do we have for this school?
Yeah, so there's always a school plan. Obviously our schools are our big concerns. We have over 38 schools here in the 5-2 precinct. So we're unable to go to every single school and be there at every single moment. But we do focus our plan on the older kids, the high school kids, the kids that sometimes are causing the issues. Our middle schools will be around our middle schools. Our youth officers are at dismissal. So we have 4 youth officers who split up and address dismissals during dismissal times. Obviously, we're going to be focusing on the areas that we have the most issues. The Clinton High School is one of them where we've had issues in the past. So we strategically place officers, in the areas where the groups tend to congregate after school. So we can kind of be a force and a presence that they know that they can't be doing things they're not supposed to. But yeah, we also speak to all our principals if they have concerns. We try to either help them with our manpower or school safety manpower. I know PS 54 on Webster Avenue was having a lot of issues. So for a while, we were supplementing a little bit of manpower to that location, but in time, we were able to get them another school safety agent to help and assist in the coverage of the issues that they were having as well. So we're out there. I mean, you know, if anybody has concerns for certain schools, bring it to our attention. I'll make sure our youth officers address it and speak to the people necessary to see what the issues are and how we can, you know, make sure our kids go to school and get home safe.
Great, thank you, Officer Chavarria. So with this portion, I'd like to open up to committee members to see if there's any questions that we have for NYPD 52nd Precinct. Lowell, I know part of my question was based off an email you sent. I'm not sure if you want to go more into specifics. If not, I'll open it up next to the next committee member. Okay, so I think that was sufficient flow. So Myrna, I see your hand is up, so let me please unmute yourself and have your question for NYPD 52nd.
Hi. First of all, thank you, 5-2. I've seen that you guys have been busy this summer. You are really doing your best to take these illegal bikes, scooters, cars, etc. off the road, and we really have noticed it. We really appreciate you. I'd like to thank our NCO, Eglin, for all you do. I want you to know, because I'm speaking on as part of the board, but also the board president of Fordham Hill, for all that you do. And Officer Capo, you came to our festival and we got to meet you, and we are so happy that you're part of the team. Having said that, and I think I did email this to our chair, there was a concern, and I think I brought it up to the 5-2 before, that we have some campers that have basically parked themselves on Bailey Avenue. And now with school starting, I'm even more concerned because there are people living in there. We don't know who they are. And I'm concerned of the safety of the children as they go to school, because that is the route that they take to walk to school every day. So what is being done about it? How do we, if the people that are living there need help, are we trying to get them help? And are we doing something about moving these trailers that shouldn't be there? And it's a concern. It's not just, I'm concerned about safety, but it's also health. I mean, I have passed, just to walk to Target and you're smelling human feces, human urine. I mean, it's disgusting. And the garbage that they throw. I know that our local congresswoman, the office has really been responsive to trying to get the sanitation. I even called Aisha, our district manager, and they've been doing good with the sanitation, but it's more than that. They should not be living there. And it's now with school starting, I'm concerned for the children's safety, so.
I mean, I can, John, I know John Weiglin, Officer Weiglin's on, that's his sector, but I can just talk about as far as the people who are living in these campers. We could definitely try to reach out to them to see if they're living in it because they're homeless, what the issues are, and maybe send some services over there. I know we've had we've been doing a lot of encampment removals actually throughout the Bronx. So this person is homeless and living in this thing. We'll send some services over there. When it comes to the trailers, the big vehicles, I know it's very difficult. And I know Officer Weiglin I know he's done operations where we've removed trucks and big campers from the street, and it requires a special tow truck to move those trucks. So really it takes time to get that organized and get them over here. Especially during the summer months when they're the most busiest. We'll definitely make sure that you send us the addresses for those campers. We'll try to first go out there, speak to the person who are living in those in those campers, and maybe if they need services, we'll send out the services. We'll send out Bronx Works or DHS to speak to them to see if there's a way we can get them into a permanent housing and off the streets on the camper. If that's not the issue, if they're just deciding to park their car, their trailer there, and then that's where Officer Weigland will come into play, and then a little bit of the enforcement will come into play, whether it's tickets or towing. We'll do an operation to address that at the time. But just, if you can, send us the locations. We'll go out, we'll speak to them, we'll see if they can move, if they don't want to move, or if they're experiencing a difficult situation and difficult times. We'll make sure that the services are offered to them by the appropriate agencies that give the services, and we'll address it. I mean, I know school is starting, and that's like the number one concern. Parents want their kids to come to school safely and return home safely, and not worry that someone's going to get pulled into a camper or any car or anything like that. So we definitely let us know where those locations are, and we'll address it.
I did send the address, I'll send it again, but 2 of them are directly across from the school. PS 310, which is on Kingsbridge, West Kingsbridge and Bailey. But I'm gonna send it again, okay?
Okay, did you send it to me or did you send it to someone
No,
else?
I didn't send it to you, but I'll send it to you. too.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cheria. So opening it up to other members of the committee before I open to members of the public.
Chad has his hand up.
Thank you, Cyril. So we'll open it up now to members of the public. We'll start with Chad Royer, who is part of the committee.
Hey, Victor.
Officers
Echeverria and Capo, I want to thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. My question is about the cars. How has there been an increase in car thefts in the neighborhood and the use of cars in these burglaries? I'm really concerned about that, especially after hearing some locals in the Kingsbridge area discuss those matters.
As far as we're down 36% in GLAs. So I don't know if Officer Weigland would know more as far as the area, as far as like if there's been a lot of car thefts. But on paper it says we're down in car thefts. We're still addressing paper plates. That's one of our main things. A lot of the cars that are uninsured, printing these paper plates, and so a lot of those vehicles are being towed as well. So that's also another part of the initiative that we've been combating that in like areas that we're seeing the high crime on. So 194th Street, Briggs Avenue, Valentine Avenue. We'll go down that block and tow like 4, 5, 6, 7 cars every night to address the fake plates, that people have been doing and using these vehicles. So as far as like the thefts, though, I think we're down right now. I don't know if John would have more stats on that to advise if that's an issue right now.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. And just to keep on this topic of cars and illegal motorcycles, how does NYPD know if an RV or tractor or truck has been parked over 24 hours? Does this just get by a phone call, or it's a special ticket on 311? How are NYPD able to determine if the car or the truck, the tractor, or the RV has been parked there for more than 24 hours?
I think it's based on the complaints that we get from the community. I know Officer Weigland in his sector is constantly patrolling that area, and he's seen it. He's seen any of these vehicles, so I know he would be familiar if a vehicle has been there longer than a certain amount of time, has been moving. Especially doing the alternate sides. Now that we're doing it twice a week now, so you'll see these vehicles not being moved. So after a while, like we kind of get a list. And like I said, because it's such an operation and it's hard to get those tow trucks to come, we try to do it all in one day. So it's kind of like we got the truck for tonight and we use it as much as we can. And that's how it works out. So like once we get the locations, we'll then submit a request to get the heavy truck to come. And then hopefully, it depends on, when they can send it over here and then we do the operation. So, I mean, really, it's just a matter of, community complaints, locations. So if you're giving us locations over and over again, or we're seeing it, we're going to address it,
Sounds good. Thank you. So open up next to Mr. Guarino. If you can just unmute yourself, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm concerned with the car washing that are at the same location day after day. Are they being monitored for their licensings and permits and whatever they're supposed to have to be there washing cars? They also take over the lanes on the traffic, the service lanes along Jerome Avenue in between the L and the parked cars. And cars cannot drive straight down there to make the turns because of the car washes that have the cars lined up in the street being washed, and also along Webster Avenue, but specifically near Walton High School and 86. That strip there on Jerome Avenue is saturated with permanent cars that are being used for car washing. And I was wondering if the precinct could investigate those, or if they have to get another agency to come in because they're with the Better Business or something. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyril. Yeah, so that's been another issue that we've been working with the mayor's office on. A lot of these car washes have popped up in the 5-2. They weren't normally, for years we didn't have them, other precincts did, and now they have popped up in the 5-2. We kind of got away from the vending part of enforcement. It's a different agency that deals with that. As far as the cars being parked overnight, a lot of these vehicles are vans and they fill up these huge tanks full of water, which makes it almost impossible. And their tires are flat, makes it almost impossible for us to tow them without getting a special tow, like almost like the special tow for trucks. But I'll pass it over to Officer Weigland, who just actually did an operation with Consumer Affairs where were able to do some enforcement on that, and he'll be able to kind of talk about it a little bit.
How you doing? So, a couple weeks ago, we went out with Department of Consumer Affairs. They already had a pre-written list, I guess, the highest complaints. It seems like 311 calls, it's being filtered. So some specific complaints will go to a specific agency. So she had a pre-written list of some car washes. There was a couple on Bailey, a couple on Jerome Avenue, going up there by Kingsbridge to like 196, 198, that strip right there. We did do enforcement. They do a little bit more than we're capable of doing. They were taking pictures, they were getting, who the person is, if it's a company. But there has been enforcement. She explained to us that it is, I guess they don't have the means right now to tow it. Like Officer Echeverria said, it's tough to tow a car with the flat tires. They need a flatbed. So it's a little hectic with getting the tow, but summonses were issued. A couple of them that we enforced on or spoke to, they disappeared. Some of them are still there, but it's an ongoing thing right now.
Thanks so much, Officer. Another member of the public, Letitia McCleary, if you can unmute yourself. And
hi, good evening, everyone. I just had some concerns in regards to, I know that you guys mentioned about the sidewalk cleaning. I happened to be on 204 today, and I noticed, a lot of people were sitting in their cars, and the guy was giving out some tickets, only to certain cars, and I realized it was during the, alternate side cleaning time. But the thing is that you know, unless the trucks come by and start blowing the horn at people, people just sit there in their cars. And sometimes the trucks won't stop. They'll just go past them as the people are sitting there in their cars. So it's like, is there any way to enforce? I mean, fine, you know, they need to keep their spots and everything, but if you're gonna sit in the car anyway, it's like, why not just double park on the other side, wait till the truck come, and then move your car back? Because the area is just, I mean, it just completely, utterly stinks. Between the garbage, that the sanitation, you know, when they come to pick up, if the bag breaks, they leave most of the garbage there, you know, and it's sitting there until, you know, maintenance comes and cleans it up. Or, you know, between, you know, the people that's been hanging out outside lately, there's been a lot of, you know, homelessness more than before. And then with all the extra construction that's going around, like every other block, it's just constant garbage. And it's like, my God, like this stuff needs to be cleaned up. Between that and the dead rats, it's like, I mean, you could smell the block all the way up at the corner, at each corner. And then also, there's the issue of the construction. I mean, the kids have to get to school and they're doing deliveries at the same time that the buses and stuff is trying to get by. And then you're trying to rush yourself, driving and dropping the kids off. It's like, is there any way of rectifying when they can do these particular deliveries? Like, can't you do these deliveries like maybe after 8 o'clock, after the kids have went into school? Because you're literally preventing the kids and the buses from getting by during the times that they're doing these deliveries, because certain blocks you can't go down. It's congesting traffic. The kids can barely get across the street to the schools as it is. You know, it's just like everywhere you look, it's just a constant something. If it's not the buildup of garbage, it's the buildup of traffic.
Hey, thank you for you know, just letting us know some of those things. You know, let's start from the beginning when you talked about the alternate side parking. And, you know, parking is absolutely, you know, with all these buildings being built here in the 5-2 precinct, it's overcrowded. There's just nowhere to park. And people, when they have to move these cars, are almost acting crazy to get that parking spot that they had previously. So, and now with the alternate side being 2 days a week, it's even worse, right? But like you said, there's a lot of garbage on the streets. It's a need. We definitely need those sweepers coming down our blocks. One of the things that I can do is reach out to our sanitation partners and speak to them and let them know that a lot of people are not moving their cars, even when they're in the cars for the sweepers. I know I've had complaints where some sweepers are not going down certain blocks. You know, all our sanitation vehicles have GPS, and you know that they'll know if the truck didn't go down a certain block. But they wouldn't know if cars weren't moving for them. So, you know, if there's a certain block that you can let us know about, we'll definitely reach out to our partners at sanitation so they can address that. As far as the construction issues, you know, there is certain times that construction can start, certain times that they're supposed to receive and receive, you know, things, shipments and certain things like that. Just let me know where it is and I'll see what the regulations are. I'm not too versed in the construction regulations, but it's just probably something that I can read up on and address with the construction sites. You know, a lot of these construction sites are, you know, trying to put up these buildings fast and they're doing things they're probably not supposed to. But if we do know who's doing it, there's definitely you know, an agency that we can reach out to address, you know, and issue citations to them for doing what they're doing when they're not supposed to. You know, obviously the rats is an issue, something that was brought up in last night's meeting at the Bedford-Montchalou Community Association. You know, Department of Health, you gotta be making those 311 complaints. You know, a lot of people don't believe in the 311 complaints because there's a lot of issues with it, but you gotta kind of, you know, at least try, put the location down, let them know where it is, so that, you know, they can come out and, you know, look at the location and do what's necessary to combat the rats in the location. I think that was all your questions, but if there's something I left out, please let me know.
No, that was it. It's more so, well, not so much the rats and stuff, because I mean, rats are rats, but it's the dead rats. And once they die, that smells, and it's just like, it's been Before, you might see 1 and 2 here and there. Now, because of all the construction, it's like 3 at this corner, 3 at the next corner. They're coming out earlier because the garbage that's there. So, you know, and then the garbage that's being left there doesn't make it any better. So it's like, you know, it's kind of a thing of where you throw the garbage and run back because they've already started, you know, munching on the garbage and stuff, and you just don't
Right.
even want to go through the gate no more to even drop your garbage off because they come out so much earlier now. But
Yeah, I think
And Letitia,
Oh.
have you reached out to the sanitation committee by any chance, or is this the first forum you're coming to
this will
report
be
this?
the first
That's
time,
ahead.
because I guess
Okay.
there wasn't any real meetings during the summertime, so this would be
Okay.
like the first time since, you know,
Great.
all the
So
construction
if
stuff has been
you
going on.
if you want to send an email to the district manager, they will put you in touch with the sanitation committee, so that way we can get a resource and can look more into the details of this issue.
Mhm.
Since Seal is more into sanitation, and NYPD will also give them a heads up as well. But this is something that I know will come up a lot in sanitation. So please send an email to sanitation, and we'll make sure, if you don't hear back from them, please come back to us at public safety, and we'll make sure that it
Okay,
gets through to them.
all right, thank
So I
you.
know we're here at time. I'm just going to take 2 more, and then we're going to move on. So Lowell, I see your hand is back up, so go ahead.
I just want to tell people, you know, 311 is the place to start making your calls. And you do not have to give your name. They will take your complaint. You don't have to give your name. They will give you a number. And when you do it, make sure you have an exact address. Because I will tell you, sometimes 311 will kick it out saying the place doesn't exist. So your best bet is to give, you know, the corner of 213th Street and Bainbridge Avenue is a number that works. Don't put the middle of the block unless you have a building number. But the more you call, the more numbers get into the system. And as they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And that's my comment.
Thank you, Lowell. So the last one, I just want to open to phone number 0929, if you want to unmute.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I brought this up at
Who are
the
you?
committee meeting of the Transportation Committee of Community Board 7. So I posted it in the chat, and the address is the business located at 3112 Jerome Avenue at the intersection of East 204th Street. There are 2 trucks. Inside the box trucks are hundreds of tires, rubber tires. On the roof of the trucks, there are piled high, 7, 8, 10 feet of tires on the roof of the truck. The tires are a mere, maybe, 8 feet from the train trestle. I've been complaining about this for years. The condition continues. If a firebug or somebody with ill intent decided to start those tires on fire, the resulting heat from those tires burning would permanently destroy the train trestle and knock out service on the number 4 train. This is the MTA. I've heard, well, it's maybe we should get consumer affairs involved and other nonsense. This is, in my opinion, a serious condition, and for some reason, it is not being addressed. So that's my complaint. I wish somebody would drive by, walk by, take a look, and see. I'm not out of my mind. I'm not making this up. This is a very serious condition that exists and needs to be addressed. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, you know, I'm familiar with that location. I've heard this complaint before. I actually went out and spoke to a manager at that location. So they've had warnings. One of the things I'll do is touch base with the NCOs for that sector and see if we can start doing some enforcement, because at this point, like you said, it's been there for a while. We've tried to read and speak to them. Last thing we want to do is hurt any business, especially during a pandemic. But it is something that we've addressed. I've actually personally went out and spoke to these people, and so we'll look into it a little bit more. And if there is other agencies that deal with these tires or enforcement, we'll get them on board as well to address. And thank you for your concern, and hopefully things will change soon. Like I said, we're familiar with it, and we'll work on it. Thank you.
Yeah, Andrew. Eric, you're the last one, and then we'll move on to the next item.
Yes, and they say to do the 311 complaints. Every time we do the 311 complaints, we always get this: the police department responded to the complaint and took action to fix that condition. And is there the cars parked? Is it illegal park, double park, or park in a hydrant? And 3 hours, 4 hours pass by, and you keep doing complaints, and that's the email we get back is the police took action to respond, and that's it. And nothing happens. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the 311. I don't know if it's the system is down or what. Thank you.
Yeah, so to just, to touch on that, obviously there's parking is an issue, and then the precinct, and people decide to, sometimes recklessly park in a fire hydrant or park illegally. We try our best to address those concerns, but that is not our number one priority. Our number one priority is public safety and making sure that people are safe. Locations that do pop up on that 311 is the information from those complaints, regardless if the complaint was addressed the way you want it or not, is put into basically a plan where we send that information to our traffic division so they can up the enforcement of summonses in the area that those complaints are coming in. So, for us, we'll do our best to supplement traffic's summonses without jeopardizing public safety, which is our number one concern. We try our best to address these issues. Again, depending on what's going on, it may take a while. Sometimes it does take a while. Obviously you're saying that sometimes these complaints are being sent back as addressed and they're not, which is for us is something that I'll bring back to our training sergeant to make sure that our officers are addressing these complaints when they are able to do it, and it's not interfering with our main goal, which is public safety. But if there is a specific address or a specific area that you see this happening a lot, just, shoot me an email. I'll put my information in the email, in the text, and we can definitely send that information over to traffic division. And they can definitely increase the enforcement in the area of that concern.
Thank you, Mr. Charia. Again, thank you, NYPD 52nd, for all the great work you've done. We have noticed a difference during the past month. Big kudos to everyone. And again, thank you so much. So, Officer, if you can put your information on the chat, that would be great. Members of the public, feel free to reach out to NYPD with any additional questions. So I'm going to move on to the next item in the agenda. Do we have a representative from the district attorney's office?
Hi, Victor. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, good evening, Erica. Go.
So our office has been up and running. Most of us are back in office. Some people are still working hybrid. Right now, we're working on organizing our 5K to end domestic violence, which will be in October. Once the flyer is approved and ready to go out, I will have my colleagues send it out to you guys. With that being said, this will be my last meeting. This will be my last public safety quality of life meeting with you guys. I'm now being transitioned over to 3 other precincts. you guys can still reach out to me. Unfortunately, the person who will be taking over for me wasn't able to join the call this evening, but I will definitely put you and Samantha in direct contact with her. I'll do an e-introduction. You guys still have my contact information, so feel free to reach out to me. The other thing was our office is now working on being able to provide more information with regard to the services that our Crime Victims Assistance Unit provides. And with that being said, many people have the misconception that you have to actually be the victim of a specific crime, or they, you directly have to be that exact victim. Our office does provide different types of therapies as well as resources for families of victims, as well as victims of crimes, whether it be elder abuse or domestic violence. Sometimes we even provide referrals for any type of therapies that our office may not offer. I will still be participating in providing workshops throughout the borough, so you guys will still see me around and in the community. And yeah, that's all for now.
Thank you so much, Erica. And again, I'm sure the committee and members of the public want to thank you so much for your service. You've been a great asset to us here at Community Board 7 and Public Safety. So again, kudos and thank you for your services to our community. With that being said, do you want to give us just a quick summary of, I know the Saturday nights program over the summer, on how it went and if it's going to still continue in the fall, or is that done already?
Perfect. So with Saturday Night Lights, so SNL was pretty much expanding even more. So all 5 boroughs are having their Saturday Night Lights facilities and programming expand. We now have, I believe, 65 different sites throughout the borough. I know before we had one that was a rotation site at the Mashalou Montefiore Community Center. With regard to the placement of the sites, that is now being overseen by DYCD, the Department of Youth and Community Development. So I have been in contact with them. They have also spoken with Sergeant O'Brien. And right now we're trying to figure out what best way to provide programming for the 5-2. Unfortunately, at the moment, the 5-2 does not have a site because that Mashalou Montefiore site was just a rotation site. So it was pretty much twice a month. It would be, I think, the 1st and the 3rd, or the 2nd and the 4th Saturday at that specific site. I know that there are other programming sites close by, but they are in the confines of other precincts. So what we were trying to figure out was, where could we, 1, provide programming, and 2, what best way would it serve the community? And with DYCD providing the actual funding as well as the locations, getting the program managers and participants on board with whatever sites they are able to get approval on, we have to be able to also state, what are the parameters? What are the programs that's going to be offered? What else can we gain from putting this program in this specific area? Now, I have completely stressed as much as I could that the 5-2 does need programming because it is the precinct that does not have any. We're also looking into what other resources we can pull in. So whether it be maybe getting in contact with parks and seeing if we can use the Oval, or seeing if there's a school that may be considered a beacon or may have other programming that possibly can get permits, and how that would be rolled out for them to be able to provide programming. But all of that right now is on pretty much a wait list because there are so many sites that are still being rolled out throughout the borough. So they have to be able to take the time to actually look for these specific places that do have beacon programs, do have the necessities. Perfect, Samantha. Can you send that information to me? And with that, it's easier for us to get DYCD to identify, listen, you already have a program here, especially because it's a beacon program. How can we now develop this relationship to a grander scheme where we can provide SNL? So once that does go through, or once I get any updates, I will definitely give you guys a heads up. I'm still completely on board with everything SNL, and I meet with them about 3 times a month. So either I will get back to you or I'll reach out to Sergeant O'Brien and we can see what way we can figure out for us to be able to provide SNL programming.
Thanks so much, Erica, for that great update. I do want to open to members of the committee, see if there's any questions for the district attorney's office. And if no, then I'll open to the public, see if there's any questions for the district attorney's office.
I do actually. A quick question.
Sure.
I wanted to know how does there's a program called it's something for, oh my goodness, what is it? It's something for adults. Something like, you know, if an adult is in like some sort of turmoil or there's crimes being committed against them, it's a program that deals with them. I can't remember the name though. And I had called them and spoke to a supervisor. No, I left the message for a supervisor and everything because my sister was being exploited in regards to her SSI money and things of that nature for like a really long time by this guy, and I ended up being her payee. But the person was still in contact with her. And when they contacted these people, they never reached out to us. They said, someone made a comment about, well, they only would reach out if she was behind in her rent or something stupid of that nature. And I was like, well, one, she's also special needs. That was another thing. And we were talking about like this man was like taking thousands of dollars from her for like every month, every single dollar every month. And I could not get anyone involved to help me out with it. And I was like, you know, I mean, the precinct, they told me to come in, but, you know, she would have to file a report because she lives in the Bronx, wherever she's in the independent living building. And the most that we got to do was to ban him from the building, but that still doesn't keep him from hanging out and about to meet up with her, you know, to do whatever. But I got to stop the part of her SSI being taken because I ended up being her payee. But it's like, I've threatened this guy like 1,001 times of getting him arrested. And it was like, I couldn't do anything because I was having such a hard time with getting the people that were supposed to be there to help her. There was like no response.
So I'm gonna put my contact information in the chat. Definitely reach out to me. And I can see who within our office would be able to best assist you, whether it be possibly someone who has more information with regard to economic crimes, or if there's any other way in which we can be of assistance. So I'll put my contact information in the chat.
Okay, thank
Thanks so much, Erica.
No problem.
Thank you, teacher. So I think that's all the questions we have for district attorney. Again, thank you, Erica. And I'm glad we're still be able to keep in contact. And again, thank you for all your service. Next, I want to see if there's anyone from OEMS on the line. I don't think we have a representative. I don't see one. And we don't see a representative from FDNY on the line. So hopefully we'll have them for next time. With that being said, I do want to open up to my committee members to see if there's any additional questions or item they would like to bring up.
Nothing here.
Sounds great. So I'm just going to move on to our next agenda item. So our next meeting will be for October 13th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. The location of the meeting is still to be determined. We are waiting to see if we're going to be going back on site or to have these meetings in person. So please keep an eye out for a future email about the location for the next meeting in October. I'm going to briefly open up to members of the public. I see, Ciro, you have your hand up. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes,
Victor, this is the Manzoor Chaudhary. I'm on the meeting, okay?
Sure,
Yeah.
I haven't taken attendance yet.
I would like to propose the Quality of Life Committee to take on the problem of 311 canceling people's personal calls because it is a duplicate call. That is not fair to the public. if the public takes the time to call or email or contact 311, and receives a complaint number, it should not be followed up with an email or call or statement saying that your complaint is a duplicate one and yours is being canceled, and you will no longer be able to track it. I had this major problem with rats problems. I called in 4 complaints at 4 different locations. And just because some other concerned citizen made the same complaints, they told me that my complaints were duplicate and therefore canceled, and that I had to go on the GovRat site and track down the locations that way, which is not fair to the public. I paid for the 311 system. I'm the concerned citizen. I have just as much right to that complaint number. And they wouldn't even share the other complaint number with me so that I could follow it up. And this is not only happening with the health department, it's also DEP is famous for doing this, and DOT. So why do we have a system that's open to the public for the community to know how many 311 complaints are being raised? And if they're a duplicate, well, just cancel them. Therefore, it shows up only as a 1 complaint, not many complaints. And this is not fair to the public, and this should become an agenda of the Quality of Life Committee. We have a system that's supposed to keep contract and keep city agencies on call to the public, and we're being lowered down to a 1 complaint system. And that is not fair. People take a lot of time out to be on the phone with 311, which is what I do constantly, and I'm being blown off for somebody else's complaint when I want to keep track of my own personal complaint. So I feel that this should be thought upon on the board and should be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll take a look into this. You did mention about 311 tickets. We have seen that duplicates or things that are similar do get closed. I would suggest just do a quick Google search on 301. There is data on 301, which you can look at like certain sectors and certain addresses. So if you have a chance, go in there and you can see all the tickets that were open on your block, on your street and everything. So that way you can see if things are being reported. But I understand that you want to report your own as well. So we'll take this into consideration. We'll review it. We'll discuss it to see what is the best agency and how we can have maybe a representative from 301 come and talk to us about the whole workflow and process of ticketing. Great. So I don't see any more additional questions in the chat. Samantha, if there's anything, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll move to the next item of the agenda to take attendance for the committee.
Just about any updates on the cameras for PS8 and our local schools. Yeah, we did our motion at the general board meeting, and that's I guess that's a follow-up for when we have our general board meeting.
Thanks, Samantha. Yeah, so I think we'll follow up to see what is the latest, but at the general board meeting, we should be getting an update on how that letter of support went through, and we'll get a better update at the general board meeting. With that being said, I am going to move to attendance for the committee. So I'll start off first with community board member Lowell Green.
Lowell Green is present.
Present. Samantha Suvatsis.
Samantha Suvatsis present.
Myrna Calderon.
Myrna Calderon is present.
Great. Manjor Chaudhry. Manjor Chaudhry. You are on the phone line. You're muted. Please.
Manjur Chaudhary present.
Thank you, Manjur. Marhani Sivajan. Great. So again, next meeting is for October 13, 2022. Please let me know if there's any additional questions. Otherwise, can I get a motion to conclude this evening's meeting?
Sorry, when is the next meeting, Manjur?
October 13th.
Same time,
The
right?
second Thursday. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mix. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is Manjur Chaudhary.
I second the motion, Victor.
Thank you, Samantha. So that concludes our meeting for this evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, NYPD and District Attorney's Office. Everyone have a good evening and take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Right.